Call meeting to order. We rise to pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a council conflict of any interest on the agenda items? Hearing none, we assume there are none. Okay. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes of the prior meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
When I said I could find $100 for flour, I found $100 in an honest donation. It did not come from me. So I'll fix that.
Okay. We also had some other anonymous donations for flowers, so we had $400 for them to spend on flour. That's an awesome deal. I didn't have that on the Wheatland Connections or on the City Connection.
Hmm?
The picture of the flower bed.
Not yet.
Okay, I thought I saw one somewhere. Okay, so outside of that change, is there anything else we need to change for that? Minutes? Minutes? With that change of Susan not being the one that donated the money. Okay. Is there a second? Second? Any questions? Questions from the public? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. Committee reports. Oh, is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on then. Committee reports, library.
We're still with local artists from the Muscle Shell Valley up the month of August. And last week, they passed their emergency strategic plan.
Any questions from the public? Okay, tree board. Can you please speak up a little bit? We're gonna have to turn off the air conditioner.
It was important to them to put strong in work together and things to be protected. So it be for this papers on fish. And so the next board meeting is yeah. Instead of the city papers.
It has been changed. Yeah, because not enough members could attend at that time, so Diane did say that they're gonna come up with a new date for the next meeting. I just let, I found out this afternoon, I just found out this afternoon, so. No, she's not planning the next meeting yet. Okay. 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 Any questions from the public?
Sign. We have to do entry in and the parking lot has two. You know, that is. Do you have an entry board that those are city trees? If you do that, maybe because this is property line, we mow and keep grass, but a tree is.
But we'll have to take a look at that. I know that they have a tree inventory.
We did that was that. We never really.
So say that again, side.
On the north side of the house is a tree, is a huge tree. When I was a kid, there was a pendant there and it's on the best. And the two trees,
Okay,
it doesn't matter.
would you be willing to write a note down on that and talk to, you know, the people that have the tree inventory? See if they have it on there. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Recreation Committee.
The pool open. And we have to pass it from the state.
Okay, so those are progressing. I know
Only pickleball courts, but on the second coat, we'll get one more coat on it, and then like when we go to green, I think they got to put 3 coats on green, and then go to green, then the striping.
okay. Okay. Ordinance Committee.
Recommendations for council to make those recommendations now during my report, or is that just as they come up?
As it come up, would be fun.
If-
Okay. Okay. Any questions?
Of course, we are-
Well, I didn't know if the parking of a vehicle with flat tires on the city streets. Seems to be the old ordinance that you couldn't have that.
Yeah, MPA handled things.
And I reached out to Randy. It's been a week ago, but it's been there, 3 weeks, on these. And at least 3. I wouldn't have-
Well, even. Even if our ordinance didn't handle that, there's enough in the one.
Sometimes,
Yes.
we had.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Wetlands and rail trail, we are still kind of on, there's no meeting with the committee, so we'll bypass that. Okay, old business, you have in front of you resolution 2026-15. The water and sewer rate change action, we do need to take action on this resolution. Any comment from the council?
I'd like to provide something. An unpopular thing, but judging by the price of gas right now, the price of groceries right now, I would like to see us consider implementing only half of it for 6 months and then implement the other half in January. The midterm elections will happen by then, and maybe things will have stabilized. Maybe they won't, but either way, in January, we would bite the bullet and do it. But this would give people a chance to get acclimated to that fees. If we did half of it now and half of it in January. I don't know what that means for in the bookkeeping piece of it. You know, if you have to redo the things every 6 months, but that's, I'm just throwing that out there in consideration of the economy right now. And this shock that everybody's gonna have because they haven't been raised. Through no fault of their own, but if they haven't been raised, I would like that. But, so, yeah.
Mhm.
Why would it be? But if people are paying that, weird and or something.
That's coming up in another item. Second item about Kevin. Okay. Hey, is there any other comment before I jump in with a few things? Public comment? Okay. We have two issues with that. And I'm just gonna throw it out. Okay, number one, we're bleeding on people that we haven't been billing that should have been. Okay. And if we push out only half of it, we're still bleeding. We're bleeding half of it because we're not getting the full amount of money that we need to have come in. So those are a couple issues there. There's one thing you said there, and I can't remember what I was going to say about it. They're severed with meter or without meter. Yeah, that's an item we're going to take action on next after this. Yeah, the biggest issue is, you know, and I think I showed in the slideshow that last year between our water and our sewer, we lost about $230,000 of revenue did not come in. And so far this year, because we're 6 months, well, we're almost at the end of our year, which means we've done almost another full year without collecting that money. We're still going to be short when we do the audit next year for this year's books. And so you know, we've gone 2 years, actually, technically, according to the audit that we had last year, the one 23-24, it says we've been going 3 or 4 years at that point without having our enterprise funds pay for themselves. So this makes another year yet, because we can't do anything until we approve the rate increase and start building the increase on the rate. Do we start making any change at all on that income? Otherwise, we're still losing money. Okay. As far as the people that we have not been billing and should be billing, that will make a difference, but it will not make all the difference.
Yeah. We should do that.
Right. Yeah, and that's why we're talking about it this evening, so that everybody kind of understands what's going on there. We are also, one of the other caveats is we are invoicing ourselves for the water and the sewer rates for the properties that we have and or the water that's coming into us. We can do that, and that offsets part of that $230,000 that we're short. It won't, again, will not cover it, and you add both those together, we're still going to be a little short until we figure out all the ins and outs of what's going on for the billing.
Are you able to retro it to the last
No.
When is this fiscal?
July 1. July 1 through July 30. These are fiscal year. No. Because they say we cannot offset. Well, yeah, it'd be whatever our and then I think we talked to Jody about that, wasn't it? Making an budgetary adjustment for what we had this year. And we could do that, I think, but we can't go back and bill anybody else any.
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? We have on the books 48 that are, no, hold on, yeah, 48 that are severed either with or without meters. And it didn't make any difference. It's how they put it in the system, and we don't know whether they had meters or don't have meters. It's immaterial because, you know, we're putting in water lines and sewer lines, and we have to pay for the infrastructure. And those 48 were included in our EDUs to be billed to have money come in. And since they're not billed, then we're not getting the money coming in. We understand, we'll get to it here in a minute, when we're talking about those are severed and building them, we understand that there are issues with some of those units. As far as whether they technically should really be built or not built. But what we're trying to do is start coming up with, not only building ourselves, raising our rates to where, according to the rate analysis that rural Montana Water gave us, should bring us a lot closer than what we were as far as coming up with paying our enterprise funds.
I didn't think you had a terrible backlash at the public meeting. That, question and they talked. I don't think there was a lot of anger and a lot of.
Not when you understand why. And I understand that the economic aspect of it, and it's just, I mean, council has the vote. And you have to decide how we need to do it because you have to worry about the money side of things. What Anita and I have to work with is making sure that we get those rates or whatever implemented in a timely manner so that they can be done. So any further discussion on halvesies or doing a full increase? I hate doing the increase.
They haven't been using this. And now they're getting a bill for something that they're not gonna use.
Well, are they not gonna use it? Well, except that they're included, and if we drop those 48 off our list, I'll tell you this right now. If we drop the 48 off totally, we will have to go back and have another public hearing because they're gonna raise it another $30 per household on top of what we currently have proposed. Between $25 and $30 a month to cover that.
So
See, they're not inputting into the new infrastructure that we're doing. And in not doing that, they're putting the burden on everybody else. But again, they still have access to it. Whether or not they use it, they still have the access to it if they ever decide to use it.
I'm just. Or they thought it doesn't happen.
Okay, now we have taken the vacant lots off. The only ones that are still on there are those with structures. Dwelling structures, whether or not they're livable, I'm not sure, but they're dwelling structures. Well, they claimed we had 642, which we did not have. Technically, we were 28.76, I think, down from that because they had that 4-inch line in that calculation, which has never been there. There was talk of having one, but that went back to 2013. And so it never came into being, but they've still been figuring our EDUs at 642 for our current water coming in as well as for our infrastructure. And that puts a lot of pressure on us to come up with a lot of money. And we can't use tax funds to supplement our water and sewer enterprises.
No, there's. No, the board, or do we have to just add a contract situation that they're gonna, you're still battling on? I'm just, we're gonna be paying.
42?
How long is this gonna progress with the 2.5 to 2.8% increase annually and top of that? Where we get back where we should be adjusted there.
That's why we're trying to get our Central Montana Water EDU set down to where it should be. And if we can get it set down to that, then we would be a more realistic how many EDUs we really have. And again, 604 does include the 48 problem cases that we have, plus another, it's about a dozen, maybe 16 or 18 more places where we got to figure out what's going on. Because there is an ordinance that has been in place since 2013, there's never been enforced, which says if you have 2 or more dwellings on the same water and sewer, you have to bill for both. And so that's something we haven't done since 2013. It will probably take us, 6 months to a year. Particularly if we can get our EDUs down with Central Montana Water, because then we would be paying a legitimate rate rather than about an additional, I think we figured out what, $12,000 to $18,000 a year we're paying extra to Central Montana Water alone, for the extra EDUs.
And that's the big point.
Correct. And the reason for that is because they just went through a bond project, and if they drop us to 603, it creates a problem on their income. So there's other issues there, but they did say in the contract, we could adjust our EDUs annually. And this is the first time anybody's ever tried to adjust. Frank? Well, that's what they threatened, yes. They said that if we drop ours from 642 EDUs, drop it down to 604 EDUs, that's 38 difference, that would cause them in the whole system that they have to raise everybody's rates another 50 cents per EDU for the infrastructure that they have, that they're buying.
That would all. Very much.
Well, but again, we would be saving ourselves right at, well, let's say roughly $20,000 a year. And that should be our money, not their money. So that's where we're in the discussion of it. They said that we could do it this year, but they had to have it in by May. And then they said, no, have it in by June 15th so we can have it effective July 1, because their fiscal year is the same as ours, July 1 through June 30th. So there's 6 things happening here all at once. Correct. And so that's why we need to take action, and it's up to you folks, I'm afraid, to make that choice and decision as to which way you want to go on.
But you're saying we can, if someone's got 4 houses or 4 houses, stuff like that, on one line, you are your fault.
Correct. By our ordinance that's been in place since 2013. Now, the ordinance did state in that any of those things that happened prior to that date would be grandfathered in, but anytime they're changing ownership, then they have to comply with the new rule. And there's only one out of all of those. Yeah, 12 or 15, 16 of those that falls under that old category. Everything else has changed titles since then, but have never been billed differently. That again goes back to people not knowing that they should be doing that or changing that since 2013.
I can't say much about that one.
Correct.
We just-
Correct. And that's not part of the 48 that we have, that we, they're severed with or without meters. That's on top of those. And we have to figure out how that goes. But anyway, any other questions before we get going here?
So, basically,
Okay, the ordinance did state that if it is a travel trailer park, there could be some exemptions made. As an example, since you're only going to use it like 3 months out of the year, normally speaking, and you don't have trailers there year round, that if you have, 2 1-inch lines, that would probably be good enough. But again, that would have to go through council here and approve it that way. That would give you, a discount and not be a full, I don't know, if you have 6 units as an example, every one of those being billed throughout the whole year. It would be a smaller number billed for the whole year, but you would have access to the water for it that way. Again, that's an exemption that can be made, it has to be applied for. Well, that's why if it's a travel trailer park, as opposed to units that are there stationary. Because that turns it into a mobile home park or something different. And so that's why it would have to be looked at a case by case basis. Yeah. So those are issues we got to deal with, we got to look at and come down to a ruling on those. So that's coming in the next couple months. We'll be dealing with those issues too, as we work through this list of problem cases that we have. Okay? Anybody have any other thoughts or questions?
Are there any grants? So,
Pardon?
any grant funding that we could-
Not that we are aware of. And most of our engineering firms do go out for trying to get us grants and or debt forgiveness at the time they're doing projects. After the deed signed or the loan signed, then we're stuck with that. And that's why, pardon?
You guys are plotting all for future projects, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, until we figure out what's going on here and how we can make it so the state doesn't look down on us saying that we're not doing our job at all.
So if you are pausing those, is there a chance to rewrite any of them? Or no?
Not the old projects, any
No, I
new
mean,
project.
future.
Future projects would have to come back to current EDUs and current rates that we have, because that's how they figure discounts or grants or debt forgiveness. Because if we are if they show on the engineering projections that our water rates, like some of them were, they said our water rates at $36 and our sewers at $37. But that hasn't been that way for at least 4 or 5 years. And if they have the EDUs still at 642, which is really high, then that throws us into a totally different category. And with the new water and sewer rate, that would raise us up, which means because of our median income of our county, then it would gives us more opportunity for grants and or debt forgiveness in the future. Besides having our CIP in place, which hasn't happened. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's the full $38.08? Yeah. We will be talking about some of it here in a few minutes. Okay, rate change. And that rate change, I think according to this deals indicates that we'd be raising rates 2 to 3% for each of the next 2 years. Okay, just so you're aware of that, that's in there. If we'd been raising the rates according to the resolution here, in essence, what you're saying is you want to accept the resolution as written.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Second? Any further discussion, questions? Pardon? July 1. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. It's one of those hard things, but I don't know what else to do. That's where we're at. Okay. Second item on the old business, billing severed lines accounts. Those that are severed with or without meters. Discussion.
Do they have access?
Yeah. Correct. Because, okay, the ordinance states, and you'll love this, The ordinance goes back to, I'm guessing about 1970, maybe 78, maybe early 80s. Okay, and it says in there, because we have our own water and our own infrastructure at that time, we will build each dwelling on the number of sinks, toilets, etc. in the house. And it says in there that the only way to not have your garage toilet build is to sever that line. That's the only place that it talks about severing the line. It would not be billed for that unit, that toilet out in your garage. We cannot find in any of the ordinances where it says when you sever or quit using the water that you should not be billed for it. I haven't found it yet. And so it was decided as a matter of policy, because we had our own water, our own system, it was very less expensive, that to have them severed and not be billed, again, that was a policy, unwritten that I can find, then they would not bill for it. But since we've been doing projects since about 2013, 14, we've increased our costs to supply good water coming in and take bad water away. Correct. Correct. This, and everybody thinks that their water bill is currently $76. That's the infrastructure on the water. Infrastructure on the sewer is 37. Now, we just raised that to 86, I think it is, or something like that. No, hold up, where is it? We just raised the water 49 and 37. $8 to $87 roughly, and the sewer to $62.76. And that's the infrastructure cost on those. It's not the water. The water is billed at $1.75 per 1,000 gallons on the water side, which is less than a penny a gallon. And on the sewer side, it's billed $1.75 per 2,000 gallons of water used. Okay. So what we're trying to do is again, at least recoup the cost of the infrastructure and share it amongst all the people who own property that have some dwelling on it. So that it's more even and equitable than what it has been for the last, well, since, I don't know how long, some of those go back, I think, to 2008 or 9, and have not been billed since then. There's a couple of those in that list. So what we'd like to do, according to this, is we'd like to be able to start looking at the list of those that have severed with or without meters, and then start billing them for the infrastructure.
We didn't take a look on it.
Most of them.
Did they?
No, everybody that I know that lives in Harlow live here. No, sorry. These are all houses within the city limits of Harlowton. Well,
Yeah.
there are a couple businesses on here, and the question is, did they, when the businesses changed hands, the property changed hands, did they get a new account, or is the old account still listed there? And so again, that's part of the problem children that we have outside of these, with or without meters. We've got 4 different sheets of those things. We did find one other problem, and that is that some people have 1-inch lines and they're being billed for 3/4 inch or 5/8 line. The difference is the difference is that a 1-inch line is 1.79 EDUs, and a 3/4 or 5/8 inch line is 1 EDU, equivalent dwelling unit. So some people are being billed for about half of what they should be. So that's what we got to figure out what we're going to do with those two. But that's another issue. But I just telling you, there's a lot of issues out here we've got to deal with. So we're trying to curb one at a time.
So, can we start?
Sure.
So the 2 buildings, 1 meter, how. That seems in code,
It is in
Correct.
code.
So we should be able to vote on 1, 2. 11.
Well, those again are like the 48, we've got severed with meter, severed without meter. We need to go by individually down those lines and make sure that they're right and then build them, yes.
So Don Chamberlain definitely has 2 buildings on 1 lot.
Well,
For every one of them? Or?
how about making a motion that we start working on that list of multiple dwellings on 1 lot, and also those that are severed with or without meter, that we go through the list, and as we resolve them, that we build them or not build them and determine why not.
Okay.
Okay, that way then we can start taking a look at each one of them and go down the list. I know you've gone through the list quite a little bit, and that'll save us a little time going through it.
So
Question, do you guys know how long the deadlines have been severed? If it's been 10 years or 2 months?
The severed has not been for 2 months. It's been at least for a year and a half. Yeah, it's been a year and a half over or more on time. Dane. Okay. Thank you. I will try my best. What we would like to have is, as we go through the list and determine that this one should be built, that we start building them. And we'll go down the next one on the list. If it is a vacant property that we didn't know was a vacant property, then we would want to take it off the list. Or if there's some reason as to why we shouldn't build 2 units on the lots, etc.
again.
Well, I think it'd be predominantly working with Bob and with like Susan or another interested party that would be willing to work with Anita and I and making sure we go down the list. That would be great. But that would give us the power and the authority to go ahead and start building those as we find out those that need to be built. Susan, you have a question?
I thought the 2 buildings, 1 meter is pretty. That one's pretty self-explanatory and it's in code. But I do have the severed with meters and the severed without meters. I think that whoever's gonna do it should, if it's obvious, but it's not a clean copy. Like Les Murray is on this list, he needs to be removed. Can we handle that right now tonight?
But that,
Maybe motor
but-
machine is on this list, there's no such business in it.
but they're still active accounts in
Right.
Black
Can
Mountain.
we clean this copy up tonight?
No, because they've got to stay on there until we get those guys to take it, till we get Central Montana to take them off. Cause they're still counted as part of our active EDUs. So we've got to get them to take, I mean, they'll come off, but we don't want to take them off until we get them to cut our numbers. And I know they're on there. I mean, we know, cause Bob and I went through all those lists too, and we went through and we know they're on there, but we've got to we got to go through the steps to get them off there, but we've got to get Central Montana to go with our numbers.
Central Montana will approve our 604 EDUs. We want to be able to bill the severed or unsevered lines, severed with or without meters, as we determine that they are legitimate to be built. So if there is a business on it that's an old business, and it's under the wrong name, then we won't bill them. But we need the permission to start billing those as we discover which one's legitimate and which ones aren't.
Okay, then my concern is about legitimate. So I'm looking right now at Tom Keating's storage unit. There's a legitimate business on there, but it's a storage unit. It's never gonna have water.
Right. But
So-
because it's already in those 48 that is counted by Central Montana, we want to get them to drop our EDU rate down to at least 604. So we can start working on this list, because our list in Black Mountain accounting system has to equal what we're telling them there is there. And then we can start taking them off. We will take them off and we will add others on as needed. From the standpoint of those that have 2 units or 3 units or 4 units on a lot that are dwelling units, then we would start billing those and that would increase. Are we clear? I would entertain a motion then.
And bill, that we have to correct.
As we find that there are legitimate billings that need to be happening because there are dwelling units on there. And those that we find problems with, we will resolve or figure out what's going on with them and then move forward. Okay, is that what you're meaning? Okay,
Yeah.
so the second, any other discussion? Pardon? Oh, is there any public comment? Get in the middle of all this thing and I forget what I'm doing. Sorry. It's not that I'm trying to just not include you folks. Any other comment? You understand what we're trying to do? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. One abstention? One abstention. Okay, item number 3, Civic Plus contract. We have a contract with Civic Plus to help us go through our ordinances to help get them in order. They are designed to work on 4 different time frames. We've had the first 2 time frames. We've sent them the ordinances. They put them in their system. Then they had they worked on a section of that, and we paid for those 2 sections of their work. This 3rd section is going through, and they have a lot of saying the verbiage needs to be changed. Or do you really want this in there, or don't you want this in this ordinance? And in order to move forward on our ordinances, we would like to approve the sending to them, requesting that they do the changes that they said they needed to be made to make it legally, according to state statutes, changed since the ordinance came into existence, and to make it verbally so that it's better understood, and then send us back what they call a soft proposal. That means it can still be changed after that. We would like to do that with what we have in ordinances currently. That still does not mean that they are approved by council. It means that they give us a cleaner copy to read through so we can make faster changes. The other thing is that we might be able to do some of the changes to the ordinances ourselves after that because they're easier to look at. And we make it faster going through those ordinances. So that's what we would like to approve or have approval for, that we could send them that information and have them do the next step.
How much you want for that?
Be about $2,700. That's according to the agreement. There were 4 payments of $2,400. We've made 2 of those. The other option, never mind, I won't complicate it. Okay, so that's what we'd like to do, and that's a recommendation from the ordinance committee. Any discussion?
Is that strictly just for the water ordinance or just all ordinance?
All ordinances, Title 1 through Title 16. Now, we have worked on 3 of them and we have a 4th one this evening that we'll be looking at for first reading. Those 4 would not be sent back, they would be sent back to them in the form that we have written them. So they would change those.
I would accept the recommendation of the ordinance committee, send it back for a soft.
Also,
Okay, any other discussion? Public? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. Before you, you have a new park use agreement. We have been withholding the park use agreement, or in what we'd like to change it to as a pavilion reservation form. And the issue we were having was there is an ordinance out there, Title 9, Section 44, that has an open container item on it. In looking at that ordinance, or that portion of the ordinance, it talks about open container on alleyways, sidewalks, and streets. It does not talk about parks. In talking with our insurance company, they said that if somebody goes down to the park, decides to meet at the pavilion, nobody else is there, and they have their barbecue unit and they have a couple beers, we have nothing about that. And our insurance company would cover it. And we were trying to incorporate some of that into our park pavilion usage or reservation, and it got a little cumbersome. So what we'd like to do for a period of time until the ordinance committee has a chance to go through that ordinance and revamp it the way we want it, we would go to just a basic form that says, these are the rules. If you want to reserve one of the pavilions, it's going to be $100 rental fee. If it is clean and not damaged when you leave, you get your fee back. It's not a rental fee, it's a whatever, it's a deposit. Yeah, there we go. That's what it is, a deposit. And then as long as they follow the other rules that are listed there, there's no problem with reserving it for your group. The only caveat is if when you reserve it, you have to have an insurance policy. Also listing the city as a, what do you call it? Help me, lawyer.
Additional
Insured,
non-contributory.
non-contributory insured person, group. So that if they damage it, their insurance company has to pay for it and we don't. We're not going to go into the alcohol part of that or the open container part of that. We've also asked here that they do not have alcoholic beverages consumed or in the children's fenced playground area or the baseball fields or the track area. And if they have a barbecuer, whether it be charcoal briquettes or propane or whatever, they have a fire extinguisher close by. Those are a couple changes we did to it. Okay, Bob?
Who's gonna police the fire extinguisher?
They should, if they're gonna sign it, they should know. And I guess they don't, they're not some enforcement, but. I mean,
do we hand fire extinguisher when they find it?
Well, that's why I brought it up, 'cause that's gonna be an issue.
A lot of people don't bring fire
There's
extinguishers.
never been one to my knowledge.
And once it's in the agreement, I mean, it's gonna be the same way with alcohol. You know, if this is new as well, the alcohol, no alcohol at the swing sets, what she was talking about that night. You know, but if they read it, they should probably. You know, make signs, but it's really no different than anything else that's on here. If they don't gonna do it, they aren't gonna do. I guess if they didn't have a fire extinguisher, we keep their $100.
If they don't have one and there's a fire, then
Well, if they sign this agreement, then they have to provide insurance. It's on them. We're just recommending that we would like to have them to have one.
I see happening, and so I didn't know I needed one.
Well, but if they have this, then it's on there, okay? I'm sorry, I'm not fighting with you.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. Vicky? I do know that a lot of travel trailers have them, or the people have them. A lot of people. Is it going?
No
Pardon?
problem. Took your fire extinguisher from me away from your RV.
To cook your deal at the pavilion, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Julie, what's your question, your thought?
Need to be. Ready to go.
There-
It's first come, first served, yeah.
It's first come, first serve, unless they want a specific time date to use it. And that's when this comes into effect. Otherwise, if nobody else is there, they're free to use it.
But if they do, what plans up that they reserve for that? Yeah.
I think.
Then can be. Contact with them. So that people know. That's possible.
Okay.
And then they know. That work with pavilion, there's something there. Anyway,
Well, it's first come, first come, first serve. It's where we've always done it, except for if they want to reserve it. Amy.
They're all the pretty version.
Okay. What we want to do is number one, get this because there's several groups that want it. And then number two, we do need to put some more signage down there. And that would come up next week or next agenda meeting, next agenda meeting, we have that on there. So, okay, yeah.
I think when you put insurance on it, people will keep. I mean, if you got probably a handful of people will like a club or something, but individuals. I don't think.
Most of the people that use it first come, first serve. The groups that we know about that normally use it all already have insurance. And so all we're saying is that if you're gonna reserve it, we want to be covered. If you're not gonna reserve it, it's first come, first serve. Then it's okay. We'll just let it go. Okay, Amy?
A lot of times your parents will let you.
Well, it would have to be covered that way if you're gonna reserve it. But we don't want to limit the people that want to, let's go down to the park and the neighbor says, oh, we'll come down with you. Or you gonna down to the park and your brother and sister and their family come over. We don't want to make it hard on them because it is first come, first serve. But if you want to have specific time, then there is the requirement. That's all we're looking for. Any other questions, thoughts?
I would move we approve this park value reservation for that, sorry.
Last call for any comments or thoughts. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. You have before you ordinance 03-2026 in relationship to Title 16. It's in essence repealing it and making it easier for the city to give out leases on city property. We'll be looking at a first reading this evening.
This doesn't involve the leases we already got.
It will affect the leases we already have because we can renegotiate them differently. Because this does not restrict us. You're leasing it? You're leasing it from us? I'll have to renegotiate that rate. I'm sorry, I'm just, I'm being facetious here. Yeah. It involves a lot of the other properties. Those that have businesses on them, et cetera, will probably be rolled over. But what we don't want is a business that has been under somebody else's name. And then that roll over into the new business name without us being able to renegotiate. Okay, any other questions? Ding.
Is this, you go existing one? This, when it expires.
This would be when the lease expires and we would renegotiate. Correct. Correct. Frank?
Do is remove it from the ordinance and just have each lease that we have as its own separate contract. It is essentially giving the city right to do what we want.
And we change the system to hands. Then you.
Correct.
It doesn't train anyone.
Correct. Correct.
Good. But you might.
Yeah. The other part of it would be that if a person had the 99-year lease and they sold it to somebody else, then it would have to be renegotiated because the lease was with the prior owners, was not the new owners, which gives us leeway in another area too. Yes. Okay. Okay, Charlie?
We had one.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And it's up for renegotiation. That's what we're trying to fix. Thank you. Yes, I agree with that. Any other questions or thoughts? As a first reading? Second, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. First reading. Okay. Since Cody Nelson is not here this evening, we will bypass him as new business. And he was gonna help us out with some more information about the disaster remediation that we need to be taking as a city under current circumstances that we're living under. So we'll go from there. I don't think we need to vote on that to pass it off because he's not here. Do we need to? We'll just do it. We'll push him off till when he can be available to us. Okay, before you is a street closure approval. We need a for the Harlow Music Project. You have the form before you. We need action to approve the street closure August 8th from 6 a.m. until midnight on that night, I guess it is. And it's the block here. First on Division.
I'll make a motion.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Before you is a street closure request for a car show on July 4th. It would be in this same block. Here where we be from Division basically down to the museum for a car show coming in. We'll be able to block off the street and have the cars displayed in that area.
What was
It's
it's not.
Yeah, this is 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah, the parade's at 2 or 3, isn't it? Something like that. Okay. Second, any further questions, public? Or they'll go up and get in the parade anyway, okay, at least we get to see them twice. Okay, any other questions, thoughts? All in favor, raise your right hand, opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. Okay, we have with us this evening, Chris Hayes from Pesha and Associates. Came across some information that we need some help on, some understanding on, and what we need to do or go forward. How's the best way to approach this? Should we have Chris talk first for a few minutes? Pardon? Have some background from Chris, and then we'll, I think, we cover with council a little bit, but not necessarily with the public, some background information that we have in regards to it. And so then we'd like to be able to ask you questions about those things that we've come across and how to understand them. Okay, so it would give us a few minute quick rundown on what.
Done to everybody.
Okay.
Just kind of
Okay,
get everybody on the same page.
do you have enough for some people in the
I brought 10.
10? Okay,
Mr. Chair.
do you guys want a copy? Do you need a copy? Okay, let's see. He's got some extra, so we're good. Okay.
So I'd like to connect boss on the phone.
Okay, sure. Okay.
So back in July 2025, Aspen construction completed the final work on the last wastewater project, and we completed the as-built drawings for the Harlowton wastewater 2023 project. It would be a couple of summers, just to use up all the ARPA funding that they had that in the funding and we spent by the end of 2025. We developed grant funding, the city and the county, and so that was that. The past project in July, then we met with the past mayor, Paul Otten, Bob, and our PHS, prioritizing collection system deficiencies that we in the system. We've done a few slope lining projects, the UV project, we've done some open dig projects, and just going to replace sewer lines and some past projects, but we wanted to see, we did a lot of cleaning and teething of the wastewater system. We wanted to see what was found in those videos and what deficiencies that come out there. The city requested us to put some maps together to kind of show in August, we sent the city some summary of what we found, maps, cost estimates, kind of broke it into 2 phases. Phase 1 was the most urgent needs, and there were some open dig areas. Some of them were ones that we were hoping to see CIP line on the project before, but once we got in there, we found them too extensive and they couldn't line them. And so we pulled those portions out of the project, and they were the highest list of what Bob thought needed to be replaced, but again, backups and has issues. So sewer mains that continue to back up and plug due to flat grades. The gravity sewer lines need to have some slopes on them, some of them flat, some of them are undersized. And then both plate lines, there's root intrusion in there that start blocking, backing up, which causes the city have to go in there. It's the sewer backs up in those mains. Sewer mains on private property, one of the manholes are even garaged and that are not, there's no easements for them, and so there's city-owned mains that just they're supposed to be out in the hours and public right of way. So some of those were identified throughout that throughout the last project, undersized 6-inch mains under the highway. For large mains, I'm just trying, that was 6-inch line that was underneath the highway, a couple locations, that area starts being full. Typically, one of those a little more than 3/4 full. There's a chance in any more flow that gets in there, or if there's any kind of blockage at all, that surcharge those manholes, and we could have an issue there. And since, you know, there's only a couple crossings that go underneath the highway, those would be top priority areas. Typically DQ doesn't want anything less than an 8-inch sewer main, gravity sewer main, so those areas were identified, and sewer main. Grade breaks, there was a spot on Central Avenue where you're halfway down the block. Some of the sewer flowed one way, some of it flowed the other way, but there was no manhole accesses. And when there's no manhole accesses at the end of them, you can clean and jet from one line up the line from one direction, and you have access from both ends, you don't know exactly where those mains are at. Low size is phase one improvements, most critical. And then we also sent maps of phase two work, which was possibly a future project. It was the more comprehensive, a bigger project that could be broken into other phases as well. We were just kind of lumping everything that we found that it didn't meet the high standards. That any that we be a update, you can apply for other kind of funding, NSF, RGM, CDBG, SRF funding to bring in more grant funding to make that an important project. Phase one, they were looking at more to SRF funding, and SRF gives out loans plus possible forgiveness in projects. But phase two, 6-inch undersized access. EC here in town could not get their camera to the up 6-inch mains. They're super tight. They like running. It's really tight to get in there. Tight surfaces from the inside. You blow impregnated belt liner through those mains, and then you put steam into them, cure them, and then you go in through with the camera and cut out the surfaces. They really don't need to do anything less than an 8-inch main. So even trying to access and locate where services are at, where they in the mains are located, they just want to get up there to 6-inch lines in town. So we don't know the location of them. There are banners, very many of them 6-inch lines, so there's no access. And you can't deny the manual programs to be able to line those. So those are the items to be focused on. For getting CIP line, obviously for future projects. That's what phase two was. Phase two was really not. That was the future one. If the ones that are completed, then phase two would be those would be other improvements that could be done. Meeting and kind of presented that, discussed that phase one project, scope of work, and the needs for the project. City wanted to start the work in the fall of 2025 and starting projects in 2026, December 2026. I sent an engineering design contract to the city and it was signed and authorized our to start that design. We wanted to get the survey done that fall so we could start during the winter, that's when we're spray paint where utilities rather than utility locates, and we could see stuff on the ground and have a survey so we can design off of that. So we did our PA design contract for $204,000. In the city, planned to apply for SRF funding, submitted the year leave survey and submit a uniform application and see. Get on the priorities first for them to see if they would give any forgiveness. That doesn't lock you into it, the project, it just gets you on their list. They will even consider you when you get on that list. And because they're trying to rank those and decide who's hitting people when you have a certain amount of money, they have to decide who's asking for it. And then we come just the forgiveness. And so that's they can give up to $350,000 as long as the loan amount they can give up to 48% of the loan. So it depends on the size of the project. If it's a smaller project, we can get less than that. So I guess in November, we started the design. We called in utility city marked water and sewer lines, started our property boundary research, so we know exactly what properties we're at, so we can make sure we get any of these new sewer main alignments out in public property, normally on maps, and relocate where we needed to. Coordinated with our geotechnical engineer, soil analysis. NVT requires asbestos inspector for anything that we're removing out of, on a project, or it's a building, manholes, pipe, you have to inspect it to see if it's asbestos, to see if it has to be hauled away. We started sending invoices in November for our contract to the city. Around that time in November, city requested maps and a spreadsheet. They wanted the TD inspect 10,000 lineal feet of sewer main in order to, and so we just put a spreadsheet with lines that we were still critical ones that we still needed to look at and then throughout the city. And so we sent that on the job, and so we had that information and did some of that, hired that out separately outside of the project. In December, survey, property boundary research, geotechnical investigation, coordination with NDT, since we were working in their right of way, to submit a permit for them. Working in the drawings, specification, contract documents, and a design report. We submitted an SRF priorities to get the intended use plan, to see about forgiveness. And that it starts with getting on their list, and then they need an updated uniform application. That's the next step. BA. We also updated the sewer map from the last from TV inspection videos and everything from the as-built drawings. So they had an updated wastewater map. In January, the design asbestos inspection happened in town. Geotech finished their report. We finished the SRF uniform application that was submitted. We sent that submitted to the city for uniform application, but it showed both phases in there. And that was, it showed $6.5 million. So we made a process and this is for phase 1 and phase 2. And so we submitted that, and that was a mistake. That was miscommunication because I knew phase 1, the grant administrator it both those numbers. And so that was a mistake. And that should have been submitted. It should have just been for phase 1. Application was not signed, and so that. In February, we updated that application to space. Supposed to be for design and construction, and the total project cost for that was $3.5 million. We continued to work on plan sheets, design reports. We updated the construction cost estimate with different lengths that we had found and changes during our design process, and from the TV inspection information that we've given. An invoice in February. We also in February held me here with Jack and our design engineer and myself to kind of give an update on the design. Where we're at with the current wastewater project and some status with that. We updated the updated SRF uniform application. We brought that and the rate increase that would be needed to do that full project. Updated construction cost estimate and budget. Discuss breaking that budget properly to add in alternates, which means we have everything from phase 1. And then if you add it, you bid it out as a base bid, and you can the very most critical lines that we want to take care of, and then any added we can add in 2-3 lines, and then as bids come in, like ooh, this we only have this amount of money, we don't want to add 3 or 4. We're just going to do the base bid and add alternates. It just gets flexible. You're bid phase for the city. We don't want to do the whole project at that time. We're just going to see these are estimates of what we typically see past bidding past projects. Every community is a little bit different than the contractors. So it's just, I guess, on it, when we go out to bid, we actually lock in the bidder and those are the numbers that are included in the official meetings. And in that meeting, so we talked a little bit about the city not doing construction. Might move forward with the project, and maybe I misunderstood something during that meeting. I'm not sure. I thought that was what we were talking about, and then maybe it was, we didn't proceed with anything beyond that, so I guess that could have been my bad on that, and misunderstood what we were doing. I thought since we had already been told to proceed with design and get this done by spring, I thought I was trying to do what the city wanted, but maybe I misunderstood you during that meeting.
When I said we were not gonna do any projects for at least 2 years.
And I took that as construction, the design of your burn. And so during that meeting, right after that meeting, Caleb, Bob and I went out and looked at some of the sewer main amendments. We were trying to figure out if some of those services were on that home or that they were underneath buildings. And so we just did a site visit to each one of them.
We had talked about maybe seeing what had to be done. Bare minimum. To see what kind of project, what kind of a project it would be. But I'm just trying to get rough figures because there's no way we're going on the $6.5 million deal. And I didn't realize that you had phase one separated out as 2.5 million, but that's still higher than what we can afford at that point, because we're already $4 million in debt. So anyway, go ahead.
So, yeah, clearly could have been communicating with the meeting, making sure you. RPA, you asked for some of these documents for past rate increases, past project, wanting to make sure that you guys have this from. You know exactly what you're working with, what rate resolutions have been passed in the past, and just start to provide that information. For you, just so you guys had some of that for your paper.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we have the right EDUs and the right rates that we're charging. In fact, that's one of the things I brought up with the $6.5 million project, was that you showed our rates still being low on water and sewer.
And so also just trying to figure out what EDUs we want to put in that uniform application. And if you, yes, making sure we have the correct rates.
Yeah.
And if we have talked also, if we submit the application now, it doesn't lock you into anything. They're still going to look at all your financials. If you're going to do that rate increase by July, that's not showing up on that uniform application as well.
Correct. And that's where wouldn't that information be valuable for grants or?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we would need to change those before we applied, correct?
The rating books that's happening for July. So we're not supposed to do it until we have something signed and approved. We're supposed to go look to current, and if it changes before you close on the loan, you can bring in new information. That's what can absolutely be updated. But it's going to take the information.
There's a lot of factors involved with that and process.
Then it starts the ball rolling, funding falls. But at the end of the day, they'll offer in whatever forgiveness design is.
But
forgiveness, they want you to see it project through, but they and they will give up one level of forgiveness. So if we stop it at design, then if you ever go on construction with that, then SRF would only do a loan, would not forgiveness on the rest of that project. So that was just just something to, so that complicates it a little bit. So there, if you take half of what the design is, as opposed to half of what design and construction is with the whole project, you can't get to that $850,000 because they only get up 45% of what you're asking for. So if you ask for it for just design, does that make sense?
not really.
So we'll keep going through this and
Okay.
So yeah, in March, we continue to work with NDT and designing our final alignment changes. We've sent cost estimates for some grinder centralized lift station. We kind of set up this project. April, as a design is very complete. And then we had some conversations, and the city was concerned about rates, the number of EDUs. We've had some conversations about what's happening dates.
Well, it's been ongoing since January 1, or right after I got in office. We've been fighting with the EDUs.
And then research spots, groups, design, that's when we finish the rest of our design. And in May, completed that, put plans and specs together. I dropped a couple sets off for Bob to take a look at, if he's in the city that wants to look at those, that's the plan specs, design reports. And then no longer working on the project, and we've sent our rules billing. And it was for all 5 invoices was for 150,000. And then an updated uniform application that only showed design. So we have one that was for bidding and construction, and then one that just showed the design contract. And so that one was a rate increase in order to come back that assumed forgiveness.
And that uniform deal was for $226,000.
So you asked me before I was going to. Job with engineering contract. There's a loan reserve and council bond payment to help out, you have bond council to help out with those rate increases and those proceedings. So there's that's in that giving just for their costs.
Okay. I think we did talk to council, and this is our side of it for just a moment here. The meeting that Chris was at in October 28th, this is what the minute says. Chris Hayes reported on the next phase of water project. Chris Hayes from RPA is here to report on the next phase of the wastewater project. He said the majority of this phase will be placing 1,800 foot of undersized line and putting the required 8-inch pipe, putting cleanouts on dead end lines and moving manholes that are on private property to city property. Chris is working on designing the phase now so that it can be put out for bid this year and ready to start in June of 2026. He will work on finding funding for this phase of the project as well. Chris also shared a map of the project for 2026. That's all that's listed in the minutes from that meeting. If you went to the video, it did say in the video that phase 1 would be approximately a $2 million project. Okay. The next day, Paul sent a document that he signed to Chris. It's called Task Order Number 9, approving the moving forward with the project. There are no indications in the minutes on October 28th through the end of December the council has ever approved the project. So that's what we're faced with. Okay. For the public to know too. And I noticed that, and I don't know what this means on this page that Paul signed. It says that the budget for these services described above under Article 1, scope of the service shall be paid on a lump sum basis in the amount of $204,000 as evidenced on the attached schedule of estimated costs. This amount is in addition to previously executed task orders. You know, does that mean that we owe the $204,000 as a lump sum when the project's complete or before the project starts? What's the meaning of that phrase?
So that lump sum is usually billed for the full amount once full design is complete. So obviously we submitted to DEQ, they'll send back comments, they'll finish anything that we need to make on changes. We did finish our budget on this, and so all we were looking for is the 150, and we wouldn't be billing the rest of that.
Okay, but still, again,
So
because it's basically for 204, other than what we have here is the uniform application for $226,000 as a loan from SRF. SRF being State Revolving Fund. Correct?
There is, yeah, the plan was to go out for funding and for a loan and for whatever forgiveness the SRF would be willing to do for the project.
And it's all up to SRF to decide whether or not there is any loan forgiveness or any grant for that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
There's no way to contact them in advance to find out whether or not there are any funds available?
So yeah, you can call and ask them, but the first thing they want is you to be on the meetings. That's like and submit a uniform application so they can look at what your product is. They need that information.
But again, the other aspect of this is if SRF does not have any loan forgiveness or any grant money, then that means we are signing for a $226,000 loan, correct?
You don't have to sign in that, but that was the plan for the funding, that the uniform application does not sign up for that loan. That just starts the process to be able to make an offer, and you have to decide whether you want that at that time.
But if they don't come back with an offer of anything other than that,
And you don't have to cancel. That's usually with a low interest rate, 2.5%, that's what was. Yes.
which would raise our sewer wastewater rates $2.09 per EDU on this document.
With no.
With no forgiveness. I know you don't know about the fact that council did not approve moving forward on the project. And your assumption is that if Paul signed it, then Paul had the power and authority given to him by the council to do that.
Right.
Okay. Susan?
$2.90, that's over and above what we just approved.
Correct. 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 Just the planning aspect of it.
Again.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. We'll come back to an item on that maybe. Did Dane have a question there? Okay, it must be TJ.
Think you're still obligated. I guess the question I have is where do you cut off? In other words, does the city owe Hessian Associates $150,000 because they're looking at the task order 9 at the end of the exhibit? It looks like some of those things have not been done and would have to be deducted from the 204 lump sum. Is that, am I interpreting that correctly?
And that's fair. I mean, that's why we haven't done everything with the PT.
Right.
Anything from the sort of rate or from DEQ. So it's not ready to bid. There's still, if we're ready to put that out to bid and design on. It can take some more time to finish this. And right now, looking for a good stopping spot, submitting it to SRF and saying, hey, then design, they wouldn't even look at it. You would get, there was no chance that without at least that was you had to have it something to submit to them. That what are we paying? Like they typically want to go for design all with your construction, but they said that they would consider this, but I don't have the answer on they can just be back, yes, their uniform application, just so they can make an offer. And so that's what that does. That we're not in that time. I guess if that makes sense.
Okay. Susan?
So what would be the EDU rate, the sewer rate raise for just doing it's doing really quick?
Can we actually do it for that? Because doesn't your bond issue or everything else have to be included in that figure?
Still have to put about 20 grand on that, so it's probably another 70,000. And no,
226 at $2, it's gonna be still over $1.50.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I question the fact that in this uniform application, that our rates are still listed as a lower rates, not the higher rates we just approved or been working on for a couple months here. And the EDUs are still at 624, I think, on here. What you have here, which is different than what we're trying to negotiate for. I'm not sure how that or what classification that puts us in or what class it does, because with the lower rates, it says we're still within parameters, but if we were higher rates, then it would indicate that we are charging our customers more money than what is on the application here. And I'm not sure what that means.
they're gonna start the funding calls. They're gonna go back through this information and get, it's not gonna close within the next month, so if you're raising rate by July, then tell them, hey, this is now I have to sign new rates, these are implemented by July, all that you can get. Or I can, we're gonna update the, uniform application before, if we're gonna wants to sign a contract, these are official. It's good to see, when we wait to move back and.
TJ?
Funding eventually 40%.
Is that's forgiveness? Yeah. Just.
Is there any funding for this? 70,000? With there's any forgiveness for that? Or that just giving you this for the construction project, not for the planning of it?
Well, that's, so right now, we have done a couple of uniform applications. One is just for design. 70. It actually reads more than that, it's the 220. We can redo that down to what we're actually building now and change that application. We also have. But that's where everyone can get forgiveness. But we submit this as a design, the most of that 170s have that. So you guys, if you end up going to construction at another later date, all it will be is a loan, and where you have to use that as that energy or different grant funding, but that's what gets the forgiveness at the time. If we permitted this as a design and construction, then you could get up to the 850,000. Yeah.
Like that's what you said, 850,000 based on the $6.5 million project. Because that's the way it was presented. Now, I did see this 6.5 million.
That's phase two. But
even on the 2.5, 850,000, because that was one of the other proposals that you gave there.
Yeah.
That still puts us 2.5, that puts us $1.7 million. No, I'm just saying we're at a point where we owe more money than what we are really able to pay because of all these other issues we've heard this evening. And so we're struggling to get it so that we can be above water, not underwater. And so that's where we're trying to figure out here, what is our actual obligation? What is really expected of us in moving forward? Because I'm not sure what to do. And it has to be with council's approval, because I'm not going to sign anything without council's approval. Okay. So that's where we're at, and that's where we're trying to get information and figure out where we're at. Susan?
So did I hear the state revolving fund would have a 2.5% loan for the $170,000?
that's somewhere in our city.
Is that guaranteed? They will always give you a loan, they just won't always give you a grant.
They've almost never turned anybody down. They did that once to get the loan each, but.
And it was 2 interest again?
On a 30-year.
They may.
I thought 20 to 30 year. I thought this one here had indicated a 30-year on the 226,000.
Not bad application. But for you, like, yes.
Okay.
Bank could get it back.
I have no idea.
It's usually one of the most managed better.
Frank?
We do it, this as a bit. We can't do construction. Is really something. Once it gets through the year window, and really it's submitted for this, and then be resubmitted that, and then again, insurance cars on stands, but it in shape. Really better probably.
Give me the answer from this. If we were unable to start this construction project within that 3-year scope, is there something you guys would do? Help us. That's going to be as a pain. It feels like we just wasted. So we worked with you guys for a while years.
it would be, and it's been working to. She would work with us to. Absolutely, it's been just. Design, we just need to be checked to make sure it's the current standard. It's a cost of the. So that's.
All the questions answered?
Right. Alright. I mean. 70,000. Like, just pause on that, and like even pendly after 3 years. And then try and get sort of funding at that point, when we will maximize. Would that be your recommendation, or I guess what is your recommendation?
I mean, just hearing, kind of reading this map right now, I would recommend moving this here now, and then maybe considering going for inset on the GM. And both for CDBG as well, it's a competitive program, but there's grant funding out there, right now you qualify, anything below. If you're at 100% of target rates, you can get, $500,000 from INSEP. You can get 625,000 if you're 25% of your target rate, and you guys this rate increase will be right just short of 50%. At 50%, you get $750,000 in grant funding from INSEP. CDBG is $750,000. GL is $150,000, and that takes PER date, and there's planning grant money available from CDBG, INSEP, and RGL. That they give planning grant money to get that PER submitted every even year. For INSEP and RGL. CDBG is once a year, one project per county, and that's the 750,000. Recommend going funding and breaking this into the get as much of that funding as you can, so it's a big funding. And then SRF is kind of up in the air. Does it make more sense to try and have forgiveness later, or get some of it upfront here to help pay for design at it's not. You have either of those options, but.
I saw Susan's first, is that okay? Susan?
Are you not renew our capital improvement plan, and so we were told we were not available or eligible for any grants.
Or just the.
We don't have a CIP right now.
So they usually like the CIP, that they score better with your CDBG.
It's important.
That's. Just believe that.
The current CIP, or the last CIP that was made, was 2014. And we are in the process of trying to get that upgraded. And that's to Great West, they're getting the grant to do that. And so that should be done probably by year end. But that's, they do not require that.
Or
I see.
but there are we didn't get RD a couple of projects ago. You guys used RD, but you guys don't qualify for grant. I think that's another one that's out there. Some communities do. Sometimes you can lend some of those loans out for 40 years.
That's where we are with the sewer loans right now, and with well, at least one of our water loans, isn't it? But we have, oh, it's terrible. Bob, real quick, and then we'll come back to you, Amy.
I just want to remind the council, don't just focus on the sewer project, because we're also under deadlines for our water project for lead removal. So they're both gonna hit about the same time.
Well, we had Amy coming in with a water project about the same time we were talking with Chris. And we're still looking at the lead and the galvanized pipe project. That one, I think I've mentioned before, we thought we had 30 units.
in the lead, and then they added galvanized to it, so we're now at 80 units. And just a quick calculation on that, that's a $2.9 million project coming up. Amy,
Applications, it's just now, just a conversation, it's not. When was that gonna be? Right, they should, could, we put the application again, we thought it, but in years from now, so it starts, hopefully, like,
Yeah, in,
because if we just put in for the planning, and we lose out on being able to apply that in the future, or maybe a larger amount, but if we say we're not doing projects for a year, but we put in this application, start a conversation, the entire project, and start a year and a half, or in that time frame. But they're reflecting the full amount. Same. Is there like a take?
yeah. Yes, you're right.
you can see there for they take, so if you say during the way such it can continue to 2 or 3 years probably, and just carry things forward. But as soon as I'm so it one wrong, speaking of available, then it's it easy money for 3 years if you want. So and you could be with me do a line based on, which means that you can usually looking for 2 years, but all the actual date. I guess the
Thank you.
No, it's not a problem. I'm just, okay. Anybody else have any questions, thoughts? Council? From the public? So how soon would something like this have to be submitted?
So they're actually updating their survey, and gonna be looking at projects for that priority list, they're later than they normally are. They're doing it within a week or 2 years, so their recommendations, get it in, get that application in, so just get that list and so they haven't figured out. But getting this.
As is, or can we make?
You can change anything that needs to be, or you're not, again, they really, what are you planning on doing? That, hey, we got a project here, let's start looking at all our rates, they're gonna start asking for numbers of your financials, it just starts the ball rolling. So I would recommend putting it in just for the timing of it, because they do it once a year and they start that list, and then they start giving it out to projects, and then you find out it's got their forgiveness. And so I guess if you're going for the forgiveness portion right now, I would recommend putting it in. And signing it and just getting the list and then starting calls and starting conversations. And just see if they'll give anything for this design, if that's what you're going for, or if we want to try and lengthen it out and do it over multiple years and how we sit on it and kick the can. And will they really wait for a couple of years? Just get some of those questions answered. See what they're willing to do.
TJ?
$170,000. Without the 2.5. mean, some savings or.
Well, we have to take it from our constituents that we bill.
Yeah, without having.
The only other thing that I could think of, and it's just a thought, is that, we did the rate analysis. And in the rate analysis on the wastewater part of it, we put in a figure for replacement of vehicle. And we may be able to alter that instead of being, I can't remember what the dollar was. It was 20,000 or something like that we put in there. If we would lower that a little bit in order to cover the cost of this, whatever that would be, then we wouldn't have to raise rates immediately. But we would have to eventually raise it so we could get back to where we'd have a reserve for vehicle replacement. Frank? Sounds like it'd be better to have it on the actual project when it comes up, not on this portion of it.
One other thing, you guys are right, it's what's in 50 or 70 that you're gonna do to cover the cost of this. I mean.
Well, the other
if
option would be
we're
to,
to do it all at once.
well, except we would have to, wouldn't we have to go back to a public hearing, et cetera, to raise it again?
think you're talking about the same thing. $2.09 was if we absolutely had to write out a check tonight to Pasha for the 200,000. If we vote or think about or have a way to put us on the list and go ahead with phase one, but not this summer, then it's a moot point. That $2.09 is a moot point. We're gonna have to raise rates anyway next summer. Is that what I understood? The 209 was.
The 209 is just for this $226,000 loan from SDR, SDR. And that would be on a 30-year loan.
Bring up that you got paid. They get paid, but yeah.
Have to start the whole process over again. The only way that I could see that we could do it would be to alter that one figure on the proposed rate increase so that it lowers that enough that we could pay for this. But that was just a thought. It would balance it out. It'd just leave us less reserve for replacement of vehicle. It was put in there. Replacement of equipment is what it says, I think. We could do that, yes. Because we are going to raise it between 2% and 3% according to what the resolution was. Yes, correct.
What's the downside? What's the downside? But if you go on.
Correct.
Downside is the ending without a.
And that was 10,000 instead of the 6,700 that we were looking at originally. That's what it would put us into. I mean, it would still be in a position where our reserves would not be high enough to cover some of those expenses when we needed it.
To see in the based next year, so percentage happens and that has been then like say
again, we're not where we're gonna move forward on production or doing it. We're just putting it on hold until we get our finances in order so that we can legitimately take on a new project. And that's all we're looking for is time to do that. But in the interim, we owe some money. And I guess I'm only hesitant because with the rate increase and with our EDUs going down, it throws us into a different category. So I'm really reluctant because of that. According to Chris, we could go ahead and sign this as is and start the discussion. And then we would be able to change those items as the discussion goes along. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, who does that negotiating or changing of that? Is that you folks or is that us? You'll take care of that?
As soon as you have. what you're- It's changing you, so that and get them in the athletes.
Okay,
We have no other obligation.
Correct.
do we have a motion?
I want to hear what your motion is.
Okay. The motion, we move forward with seeing what sort of data you're going to see back we can see.
Or is it just to? No. It's only in this document. But if we go for a straight loan, then when we do production on the wastewater phases, then we're eligible for more debt reduction or
For forgiveness.
For forgiveness?
For forgiveness, construction portion of it, because that won't. Project.
But we can wait and kick the can until we get that deal.
Correct, so really this is the asking for.
this is just asking for a loan for the design fees. Actually, correct.
If we get, we have it.
So your motion does not want the forgiveness on the $205,000. Are you completely confused, Anita?
Nope.
Okay, I'm just gonna go. We have a motion on the floor. Do we need a second? Any further discussion? Comments from the public? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. I will get this signed and to you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for your time and being here. We just needed to clarify a whole bunch of stuff here. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Report of Public Works.
Do you have one, Brad?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Nothing else for me?
That's all we have for you. If you need to take off, please do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Spent most of one day in it. Just exactly what we wanted. So, right size for this town. Got the lower crosswalk painted. So by the head start, we haven't started the this one yet. So we picked up the equipment at the skate park. The only thing that survived was the 2 concrete parking blocks. So that ramp is stainless steel on top. And the rest of it's concrete. As soon as we picked it up at the forklift, it just crumbled. So basically there's nothing left.
Recycle the stainless steel because we're gonna need that.
I mean, we didn't. I mean, we still have a pump house, but right where you start, the kids would start, it's just gone. I know we've talked about this before, and I kind of got reference to go to the chamber, but I don't know if anybody noticed how dirty our 4th of July banners look. They're just kind of unsightly, so we might,
Well, and we have grant money from leftover from the 125th to
We do?
banners, because we didn't buy Christmas because we had Christmas. So we still have money left from that.
Oh, yeah. You got the plan.
Mhm.
So. We understand.
I think we're to the point where we need to be looking at options to replace everything because they're all in the same category.
Anita, do you know where they got those?
I don't, but I'll see if I can figure it out from. Okay,
That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Comments? Okay, Anita.
I heard from Recycle Montana and the e-waste people, they took 42 pounds of cans out of here and almost 1,400 pounds of electronics the other day for not being here very long, so that was pretty good. And I am headed to Helena tomorrow to the summit. There are still summits for you guys to go to. Recommend you go. I think your little flyer that John has in his hand has them on the back. There's multiple ones to go to, so.
You got information from Joe Morris to go to Columbus to the draw house, so. I think that. It is a day of work if you have a job. But you get to go see Joe.
All I've got.
That's all you got?
Yep.
Any questions for Anita? Okay, my report, I don't know what to say here. I know that, Tanya Garber contacted me today. And we've approved moving forward, with the, Roundhouse, stack of grants. And they would like to start preparing the PAR, which is the primary architect report, and the PER, which is primary engineering report on the Roundhouse. And she has funding on there for it. She just wants to make sure it's okay to proceed with that. And because of what we've been talking about, I wanted to know. If you guys don't have any objection, I will tell her to go ahead and do that because she says there's no cost to the city. The funding that she has for that covers it. But I want you to know that in advance. Okay, so I will, unless you guys have an objection, I'll let her know that, okay? I was also going to talk about the municipal summits. And in fact, you were talking about Jeff Miller wanting to do a training for councilmen and mayors and city clerks that Dan Clark would put on. Maybe, and Jeff was talking about maybe including Hobson, Moore, us, and maybe a couple of the other towns around here. I know in the past, it used to cost between $1,200 and $1,600 to have him come. It's for us, and then we could split that 4, 5, 6 different ways depending on how many communities are involved. So anyway, but the municipal summits that they have are very good. And if you can get to one, they're free other than the travel. And we do pay the travel, don't we? Okay, so that's in our budget there for that. I thought I would let you know that I've signed up for the league's 95th anniversary annual conference, not anniversary, 95th annual conference. It's in Helena, October 7th through 9th. So I will be attending that for additional help and knowledge on my side. That's all I have, unless you have a question. Okay, Mayor, I mean, not Mayor. I saw the mayor here, attorney.
I'll, yeah, reminder for the summit in Columbus on July 9th, which is a Thursday, and I'm gonna try to go to that. I always think it's a good thing to go to. It's very well put together, very efficient, very fast moving. And the local government center is very skilled at what they do. So I would encourage any of you that have time to do that particular one, since it's reasonably close, to go to that. 2 new criminal misdemeanor cases since the last meeting. with you folks. A third case is now set for a jury trial on a DUI, disorderly conduct and failure to yield right-of-way case. That person at one point apparently was going to change their plea, but they decided not to, and so I will be here, probably drive over Monday night. Usually a trial like this will take all of Tuesday. I don't think it will go into Wednesday, but I will be here Monday and Tuesday of next week. And we'll have been working on it quite a bit the last week or so, and we'll actually go by the sheriff's department tonight to try to talk to two of the main witnesses. But in any event, that's all I have, besides helping the mayor with a lot of issues. And again, Mayor, my humble opinion, for whatever it's worth, is doing a tremendous job of trying to look at all the issues and deal with them, as are you folks. So I admire and respect all of them.
Julie?
I do have a question. How are you coming with the lobbies?
Yes, we just talked about that. I don't know if you want to say anything, but
We're gonna try to get a meeting on the 23rd, 22nd. 22nd with her on the phone to see if we can get a direction headed and going on it. I mean, as far as addresses, people, and the document we need to have signed.
Be backed out.
Has not backed out yet. We did get a notification from the Realtor today saying they want to know in the next month or two at the max what's happening. So. Any other questions? Since the sheriff's department is not represented here this evening, I guess items for the next meeting.
Signs for the park and Cody.
Okay. Any other items that you guys have at this point?
There's grant money for that, should we?
I can put them on there and we can see what we can come up with.
Cost.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to have another non-custodian.
See what I can find for you.
Okay, Julie?
It's
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Claims. Need to approve claims? Second, any other discussion on that? Hold it. Yes, Dave?
They were put in chronic claims last month or the last meeting, and they should have been paper checks.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same, passes unanimously. We are. Thank you for your time. Sorry it's so long. And you need to sign, the documents, if you would please, before you leave.
one thing I wanted to mention to you, if we do it